The 10-minute drill.
This is a big one.
Covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
On 1010XL.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Hit it.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to the 10-minute drill. We'll take a little tour of the headline as get you caught up on what's going on in the world of sports. First, from the text line, though, I'm feeling kind of simpatico with the text line today. Maybe this is a break has given me a new bond of friendship and kinship with the text line.
New lease on life.
Yeah, I mean, they're making some good points here. I mean, first on the topic of Brandon Linder, he's an unknown player at an anonymous position on a terrible team. This isn't that complicated.
Fair enough.
As to why he's the underrated guy. And, well, he is the highest paid. This question, is it the O-line or the running back to not run in a touchdown for at least 1 yard? Boy, I think if you've been over a year, I put that on the line, don't you? I think any player who's good enough to earn a contract as an NFL running back can get through a hole from 2 or 3 yards out. So, I mean, it's a combination of factors, but it is the most bizarre, unbelievable stat that most people aren't even privy to because they don't follow the Jaguars. But the fact that this team has not had a rushing touchdown longer than a yard since the 2018 season is damn near unbelievable, isn't it? Here's another question as we've scooted around some different topics. Hey, guys, I do agree that if we have college football, there will be a limited number of fans, but how do they decide who gets to go? I'm a student at UF. I've had student tickets for 3 years. I've been to every game. They haven't released season tickets yet for us. I get they need to make money, so they should have boosters at 10 games. However, you can't take away the student seats. How do you decide? Boy, it'd be nice if it were so simple as you did the right thing and the students got first priority, right? But even a 3-year student is smart enough to understand all that booster money that's sitting across from them over there in those west stands. You know, the west stands would be the one where the sun doesn't beat down on you the whole game. There's your first sign.
That's a clue.
And then on the text line, if not Tony, then who? We're talking about Kadarius Toney, most exciting Gator football player. My point is, well, I mean, has he done enough? Is he consistently enough? And so I said, well, Kyle Pitts. That's who. But again, excitement is a word that I guess you could, quibble over, right? I mean, Kyle Pitts maybe isn't most exciting. Maybe it's reliable or dependable or productive, right? So, anyway, without further ado, let's get some of the headlines in the national or in the sports world with the 10-minute drill.
Well, obviously, the lead thing, as you said, the lead thing in sports right now is the, I don't know if I'd call it shocking. It's just more shocking the timing of it. Cam Newton landing with the Patriots on a 1-year deal. It's a decent paycheck for Cam, but heavily incentive-laden as well due to his injury history. Do you feel like, when we look back on this season, do you think Cam will have resurrected his career?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you're going to the perfect spot. You're going to a guy in Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, who has some experience in dealing with an RPO-type quarterback, and what he was able to do with Tim Tebow would probably be, just the tip of the iceberg of what he can accomplish with Cam Newton, but he's going to a winning team. They've got good running backs, right? Sony Michel, James White. Didn't the Patriots draft a running back? I'd have to double check that. It's just you're going to the perfect, well-oiled machine, right? Now, are the personalities going to mix? Is everyone going to be on the same page when it comes to some of those other things? I don't know.
They did not draft a running back this year. They drafted Damian Harris in the 3rd round last year.
That's what it was. So they've got a pretty strong backfield. Sony Michel now, you start to wonder about his knee. He was not the same player last year as he was his rookie year. But I think that from the standpoint is after this year, is Cam Newton a no-doubt starter in the NFL? I guess that would be resurrecting the career. Yes, I think that'll be the case because I think he'll go to New England. He'll play smart football. The Patriots won't ask him to do things that he doesn't do best. Their defense will play great. And here are the poor Buffalo Bills who have finally been lifted to the top of the mountaintop in the preseason in the AFC, and they're probably not in that position anymore.
You brought this up when you were talking about Cam signing. It's a little at least curious the timing as it comes on the heels of the Patriots also getting dinged again for their illicit behavior.
Well, New England has a way of sending people to places they're not supposed to be, filming things they're not supposed to film. So, I don't know how to
certainly have established a pattern.
And this the Bengals, Browns, and it just goes to show. I mean, look at like some of the. It's one thing to, look at the signals on the sidelines for your arch rival at the time, the New York Jets, and try and get any advantage you can. And, that's one thing. It's the Bengals and the Browns, for Pete's sake. The Patriots could give the Bengals and the Browns their scripted play sheet and still beat them. So that's the part that's so it just shows you how ingrained it is to push the envelope when it comes to the rules with New England, that the fact that their latest doesn't involve a practice session at a Super Bowl, doesn't involve, an AFC championship game and some strange inflations of footballs. It doesn't involve shooting the sidelines of your arch rival. It involves going all the way to Cincinnati for a Bengals-Browns game to learn what? If you can beat them by 50 instead of 40? So I think it's really extra damning for the Patriots that this happens. I mean, if this is happening, Bengals-Browns, God knows what's in the hidden vault in New England.
Jeff, the association's getting ready to get back to work in Orlando. More players are pulling out. Meanwhile, the league announced their schedule for the NBA resumption of play. Even remotely surprised at the doubleheader that they've selected for us, as it'll be Zion on the Pels, and
then it's the
Clippers and Lakers.
Clippers and Lakers. No, that's great. I'm looking forward to the NBA. Look, I think it's a good. I am a bit surprised at the number of players that are pulling out. I'll tell you why. I'm just surprised that 20-year-old athletes are that scared of the coronavirus. Knowing now what you know about the effect and impact, no one wants to get sick, but it's being proven and documented factually, not opinionatedly, that when these 20s and 30-something kids, I call them kids, get coronavirus, they're basically, the effects aren't much more and many times less than when they get the flu. Am I wrong on that? I mean, isn't that now being told to us by Ron DeSantis and Dr. Fauci and everyone else? So, I mean, would any NBA player refuse to go play in the playoffs because he was afraid he was going to get the flu? To my knowledge, that's never happened. Now, I don't know every single circumstance involving every single player who's, opted out. Some may have extenuating circumstances with family or wives that have immune deficiency. There could be a lot of other reasons, but I'm surprised that NBA players would balk at the chance to go out and try and win a championship. I'm not surprised at all, though, back to your question about that.
Wasn't that the talk where they were talking about how to work this whole Orlando thing? We kept saying they're trying to get Zion on the Pels in. They're trying to figure out how to get Zion on the Pels in.
Sure. And I want to see Zion, so yeah. And I hope they get in. I hope they are in the playoffs. And I can't wait for the NBA to start. And I think it's a great compromise. Let the players wear a slogan or a phrase somewhere on their uniform if they want. That's perfectly within reason as well to me. I'm personally interested in seeing the basketball, and because the NBA went away from us, we forgot what a terrific season this was setting up to be.
You were out on your golf trip last week, so you weren't here when the dust settled on Major League Baseball finally hammering out 60 games. That they'll report by Wednesday. Players have to report for camp, be ready for July 23rd opening day. So now that the dust has settled on that and our vitriol at the owners and players can take a back seat, how are we feeling?
Yeah, I'll be watching. I mean, who am I kidding?
Right.
I'll be watching.
We're such marks.
I'll be watching my Atlanta Braves. Something has emerged out of this shortened season that's kind of interesting and different. And I think it's because the year of service is given no matter what, right? Isn't that the rule?
Right.
Like all major league players get a year of service this year, even if they didn't play, which is important. It gets you to levels of your career and freedom to move and team control. All of those things change at least a little bit. And one thing that's coming out is top young prospects that normally would not get an opportunity to debut yet are going to, with the increased rosters and the way that this season is set up. For instance, Braves fans, it certainly looks like Christian Pache, who is being billed as the next Ronald Acuna. I mean, you could only hope, if you're a Braves fan, that there is another Ronald Acuna. But it looks like Christian Pache is going to get the call to the Braves. So that's just another nuance that'll be fun. But the season is going to be so different. Did you see this stat that if you went through 60 games last year, neither of the World Series teams would even be in the playoffs?
That's wild.
The Phillies and Braves, the Nats didn't even make the playoffs. Now, the Astros weren't winning their division. Maybe they weren't in the play. 60 games is not a representative number in baseball. So it's going to be interesting also to see who adjusts and how they adjust. What's the strategy for approaching a shortened season? I think there are certain teams that have a better chance with this reconfiguration, and there are other teams that have a worse chance because of the reconfiguration. But there's been a lot of talk, and I don't want to talk too much. Gosh, my computer's going crazy here.
Oh, no.
I don't want to talk too much about who I really like because at some point here we're going to have to all make our picks. But the word on the street is, in a 60-game season where you're using a lot of arms, look out for the Tampa Bay Rays, who apparently just have a stable of arms that might make them better than even the Yankees or some of the heavyweights in the American League East. There is a good column, though, on ESPN if you're a baseball fan, but just kind of going who's going to thrive during a 60-game season. The Rays got 4 votes. And again, it's because of the increased importance of every game. They've got a strong bullpen. They just know how to, right? The Rays were ahead of the curve when it came to that, starting the game with a reliever. So they're used to balancing a short season with a long pitching staff. So
I worry, for me and Hicks' rooting interest, I worry about teams with new managers.
Yeah, that's true too. You don't get any, you better hit the ground
no
running,
margin
right?
for error, man.
I will say what they said about the Braves. So I know there are a lot of Braves fans out there, and I will be your leader when it comes to this. But talking about the teams that will thrive in a shorter season, they're one of the, and they listed about 6 teams, and one of them was Atlanta. It says, don't forget the Braves. Evaluators highlight a pair of potential elements for winning teams in a shortened season: starting pitching depth and young position players. That's understandable. You have a 60-game season. In a 160-game season, if you lose one of your best starters for 5 starts, you know what? It's forgotten by October. In a 60-game season, if you lose one of your best pitchers for 5 starts, you're in big trouble. I mean, he's only going to make 15 starts at the most. So here's what they say. The Braves have both. Their rotation of Soroka, Fried, Hamels, Fultonevich, Hernandez, Kyle Wright, Sean Newcomb, Touki Toussaint, prospects Ian Anderson, Bryce Wilson, Kyle Mueller, and others. It's an obvious piggybacking situation, and their lineup has young stars. Acuna Jr., 22, Albies, 23, Swanson, 26, and it also could include some young 20-something outfielders as well. So the Braves have won 2 consecutive National League Easts. They are favorites for a 3rd straight. So I love to read that, considering especially that the Braves play in a division with the world champions, the Washington Nats.
One of your favorite guys, Jeff.
You can call it whatever you want to call it. I call it reporting.
Jason Lockhan Ford.
Nice.
Ran off 6 predictions for the NFL offseason, preseason.
Okay.
And 2 of them involve player movement, so I'll just focus on those 2. 2 predictions.
I'm guessing that it's about time to kick up the unique wagon again. Is that where we're headed?
No, this is possibly unique related. One is that Colin Kaepernick will remain unsigned despite a lot of chatter. The other is that Jamal Adams remains a Jet. I know a lot of people, at least in the Twitter sphere, have speculated a Jan for Adams type deal. Do you agree with both those assessments that despite tire kicking that Colin Kaepernick will remain sidelined in 2020 and that Jamal Adams will be maybe begrudgingly in New York?
Well, I think, if I'm the Jets, I'm keeping Jamal Adams, with all due respect. And you know what? I'm probably going to franchise you after that. We're trying to get better, Jamal. I know you don't believe it. It's hard when you follow a team like the Jets or the Jags. It's hard not to get cynical and believe that they don't even try, right? If you're a Jaguar fan and you look at the pitiful record of Dave Caldwell and this football team in the last 12 years, it's very easy to cynically say, gosh, they even try? And so when you're a player on one of those teams, you desperately want to go somewhere where you feel like when every season starts, you have a chance to be a champion. And when you get mired on a team like the Jets or the Jags, that's not a reality. It's a pipe dream. Now, the problem for Jamal Adams, he's such a great player that if you're the Jets, you can't afford to let him go. If you ever are going to transition out of that ne'er-do-well stage, you need to have players like Jamal Adams.
Those are the guys that get you out of it.
It's not a very good relationship there, though, right? I mean, this thing is broken. It has been for a while. But because the Jets hold all the cards, I would say, yes, I agree with that prediction. The Kaepernick one is all going to depend on whether Colin Kaepernick wants to come in and compete for a starting job or if he wants to be handed one. Because that kind of loss in this whole Kaepernick deal isn't that they want Colin Kaepernick to have a shot. They wanted to be handed a starting job. And so that's a differentiation that I think needs to be pointed out. At least that's the feeling I get. The feeling I get is Colin Kaepernick should be back in the NFL starting for a team. I mean, as far as like any messaging during these times. Well, the reality is right now, with Cam, especially now to the Patriots, where is that job? I mean, who has a quarterback job opening? Right, no one.
Yeah, nobody's.
There's not. I mean, Jameis Winston threw more touchdowns than anyone in the league last year, and he had to sign a $1 million backup job with the Saints. So if Colin Kaepernick is willing to do that and work his way back into prove that he's a good enough quarterback to play, then yeah, I think there's a place for him. But if Colin Kaepernick expects someone after 3 years of inactivity to name him the starter and sign him, then I'd say no, he won't be in the league.
One last thing, Jeff, because I know it falls in your wheelhouse. It kind of slid under the radar, but very quietly, golf announced that the U.S. Open is going back to NBC. Fox is basically just getting out of the golf game. It never really worked, did it?
I was amazed that it had been that long when I saw that the NBC does such. Yeah, Fox sucked at golf.
Yeah, it was bad. And they never figured it out.
And they were bad at it, and they also did this. They ruined U.S. Amateur and other, USGA events that fell under the Fox umbrella. You just never think to go to Fox for golf, for one thing. It never. But their crews and their casts were terrible. Here's what killed Fox with golf. They came out of the gates with golf for the first time at Chambers Bay. And at Chambers Bay, remember how bad they were technically?
Yes, it was a disaster.
Like they couldn't follow the golf ball. Holly Saunders was dreadfully awful with the interviews. So right out of the gate, the first impression was just a terrible one. And it's one that they have not really been able to overcome.
I did not realize they've done 5.
Right? It doesn't seem like they're so bad that it doesn't seem like it's been 5 years.
They've been so terrible.
And so
Chambers Bay was a disaster.
So I'm glad that Fox is getting out of the golf game, and I'd much rather see it on NBC. NBC and CBS are so far superior to Fox when it came to the golf coverage that, I would suggest that Fox just step out of the golf game and stay there for all of us. Oh,
we did it.
Just like that, you've been headlined up. The 10-minute drill is also a chance for you to, I don't know, do a little eating and drinking. Beef?
Winning time, yeah.
What do we got today?
I'll take caller number 2 right now, Jeff, at 641-1010. Our winner today, going to get $25 to ABBQ Meat and Drink over on Atlantic Boulevard, just a few blocks up from the beach. They're celebrating their first anniversary out there in Jacksonville Beach.
All right, well, go enjoy some of the grub. It's on us.